Good evening, New York Knicks family, and welcome to the show. I appreciate all of you who's coming to hang out with us today, this evening. Those in the chat, if you're listening in your car, if you're listening later on, I appreciate you. We got a lot to get to. But first, as always, I want to show love to Sim for asking me to host the show. And also shout out to Sim. I mean, I'm here on Zoom, but if you could see, how it's set up, how you see me now with the Queen's Court on the left. That's Sim. My logo, um, the slides for the show. That's Sim. All I have to do is get the content ready and come and hang out with y'all. So appreciate you, Sim. Also want to give a shout out to the other MBK families of shows. Today I got the opportunity to watch a draft show on the Legion of Knicks podcast. Let me get the name. I want to make sure I get it right. Davion Mitchell out of Baylor. If you're like me, you do not watch a lot of college basketball. At some point, we're going to transition into the draft, and I want to be able to comment on these players that I don't know much about. So I'm starting early, looking at the draft videos so that I'll be able to comment when it comes up to the Knicks draft pick. So over to Legion of Knicks podcast. It's a great video. There's others there. There's more coming, I'm sure. And he has nice music as you're listening to the clips. So I appreciate you, Gramo, Legion of Knicks podcast. And I just want to shout out one more. If you work overnight, truck driver, bus driver, shout out to the correction officers that I've worked with, Officer Gabaton and others who are huge Knicks fans and listen to the show on that overnight shift. Launch Tears, Uncle Freezy, Knicks at Night. If you can't sleep, it's a great show. The fellas really get into it. And I've been a guest on the show, at least the morning show. I love it. So if you get an opportunity, check that out. So enough of spreading love. And then also Chris, who's been on every show. Appreciate you, sis. I'm looking forward to us talking about what's going on. So let's get right to it. The Knicks played 3 games since we last met: Houston, Memphis, and Denver. I just want to talk just a little bit about East. There we go. We beat Houston 122-97. They were last in the West at the time, and 0-5 coming in to the game. The only thing I want to say about that game was they played hard, but there was no, I didn't see much adjustments. I didn't see much double teaming, much strategy. I think for them, they're going to come out, they're going to play hard. And if they can win the game like that, fine. But in terms of strategizing to win the game, I didn't notice any of that in the Houston game. Taj played 31 minutes in that game. Noel sprained his ankle. Knicks continued to play well. Knicks clinched at least a 500 record with that win. I'm going to talk more about it later, but if you're a long-suffering Knicks fan like I am, that was a welcome sight. I didn't think that would be a possibility coming into the season. I know other Knicks fans did. So to win that game and to assure that no matter what happens, the Knicks would be 500, I think was great for the franchise, in my opinion. We played Memphis next, which was another win. We beat them 118-104. Coming into that game, Memphis was 8th in the West, as you can see on the chart for those who are in the chat watching. They were 32-21, 2-3 in their last 5. That was a good game as well. I thought Peyton and the Knicks overall did a great job on Morant. He did not have the impact on the game I thought he was going to have. I thought he was going to create fits for us, and that was not the case. He had 8 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Burke returned to the lineup in that game, and he did not miss a beat. He did not miss a beat, and it was good. It was good to see that. Rose had 15 at the half, 25 for the game. Rose has really, really been playing well for us. And going into the playoffs, we are going to need that. I'm not sure where RJ is going to be as far as being able to give us what he's given us in the regular season. I hope he can. but I think we're really going to be counting on Rose to show up big for us in the playoffs. And so far, he's been doing that coming down the stretch. Taj and Randle in that game played 4 and 5 down the stretch. We was without Noel. And Pell had 3 blocks for us. He played 15 minutes. He had 3 blocks for us, which was key. But I think what I took most out of this game was the Knicks was up 17. And Memphis had a lot of fight in them, especially Brooks from the beginning. He was really engaged. A 15-point lead, or was it 7? A 17-point lead dwindled down to 5. And the Knicks bend, they bent a little bit, but they did not break. And that's what you're looking for, in a good team, which the Knicks are. Teams are going to make their runs. Are you going to fall apart, or are you going to be able to stave that off and make your own run? And the Knicks were able to do that in that game versus Memphis, and I was very impressed with that. The next game was Denver. I don't really have much to say about the specifics of what went on in the game. The Knicks lost 113-97. Coming into the game, Denver was 4th in the West, the 4th seed, 43-22. And in their last 5, they were 4-1. They've been playing without Jamal Murray, their point guard, who injured himself. I forget the nature of the injury. And I believe without him coming into this game, they were 10-2. And Denver was sharp. When I say sharp, I mean sharp. Now, I don't want to take anything away from Denver, but the Knicks were a hot mess. They looked out of sort. They were missing chippies, unforced turnovers. I'm not sure what it was. People may want to talk, point to the altitude. I'm not sure. And again, I don't want to take anything away from Denver, but a lot of those misses, I didn't get the sense it was because of really tough defense by Denver that was forcing that. The Knicks just looked terrible. And on the other side, Denver was sharp. And when I say sharp, I mean sharp, particularly Jokic, which is why he's an MVP candidate. He has my vote. I think I meant to write it down. I don't think I did. But at half, he had stats that you would consider good stats for someone at the end of the game. And he had it through the half. Inside, outside, assists, rebounds. He just did it all. He just did it all for them. And the Knicks defense was just a step slow. We had nothing for them. I do want to say, and I'll talk more about this later on. I'll talk more about this later on. I know maybe not a lot of people, but I did hear some Knicks fans in my own circle and also at Twitter who was pretty down on the Knicks after this loss. I think waiting for the shoe to drop, so to speak. But I'll talk about it more later on. But the week since we last had the show, the Knicks were 2-1. They started last week when we did the show in the 4th seed. They're still in the 4th seed. Atlanta was in the 5th seed when we last did the show. Atlanta is in the 5th seed now. So nothing has changed as far as our matchup in the playoffs. There's some key games coming up for us. And then also Atlanta, who's in the 5th seed right now. Boston is 6, if I'm not mistaken, and Miami is 7. So I talk a little bit about some storylines this week before I get into the playoff push. With that win versus Memphis, the Knicks clinched a winning season. So no matter what happens, the Knicks will be over 500 by the end of the season. Who would have thought coming into the season that was even a possibility? I'm happy in terms of where the team is, but I think even if we weren't at this point, I would still be happy because looking at the front office, looking at Tibbs, we're on the right track as an organization. And the years prior, it's one thing as a team to just be losing, but it's another thing to be dysfunctional as a franchise. And that's just my own personal opinion. I just thought the Knicks were dysfunctional as a franchise and we were losing on the court. And with Tibbs here, with the front office, even if we weren't over 500, I'm just happy that we are a functioning franchise and we do things like most other franchises do, which is try to win games, try to put the best talent on the floor, and coach to win, right? Where we are now, I'm a happy camper. You know, the Knicks are a very good team and we are on our way. I'm not going to get into it. I know there was something going on with Dolan and the Rangers, and a part of me was wondering, you know, if the Knicks do well this season, you know, and next season we don't meet expectations, you know, will Dolan, you know, give us a little opportunity? I think he will. So, you know, that was one of the storylines. The other one was Randle and the possible extension this summer. I know we talked about it on the NBA video cast on YouTube. I didn't get a chance to make that show, so I'm going to give my opinion here. And I know Josh also did, a.k.a. Uncle Fulio, did a video on controversy right here on the MBK channel. So if you didn't check it out, please check it out. Listen, if I'm Randle, I'm betting on myself. I'm not signing an extension this summer. I'm waiting until next summer. I'm betting on the fact that my game is going to, if not evolve to a higher level, at least stay where it is right now. I'm betting on the fact that I'm not going to get injured. And I'm going for that max. I believe it's over $200 million in the summer of 2022. That's what I'm doing. For the Knicks, obviously, they want him to, you know, to sign. I think it's a 4-year contract. He would get 19 point something next season, and then the season after that, and I think it starts at 23 point something million, and I think that last year would be 29 point something million. Of course, the Knicks want him to take that. You know, and if he's worried about injury, I mean, because that's the other thing. If you do get injured, you know, you're taking a risk. I'm not saying it's not a risk. And if you don't play well, I mean, we will have seen him by the time the extension comes. We will have seen him in the playoffs. I need to see that. Honestly, personally, I want to see Randle in the playoffs. But by the time they offer him an extension this summer, they would have seen that. I would like to see one more year, but you know. If they sign him over the summer, that's fine. But if I'm Randle, I'm not signing it. But for the Knicks, no doubt, if you can get him to sign that extension this summer, yeah, if you're the Knicks, you take it. Another storyline, 25-year-old Luca. I just want to make sure I get this right. He's a combo guard from the Spanish league who will play for Argentina in the upcoming Olympics. They paid him 4 years, $13.6 million. This year is totally guaranteed. All of it is not prorated at all. And I think I read somewhere that the second year becomes guaranteed once next year starts. So, the Knicks will have the opportunity to see him in the Olympics. They'll have the opportunity to see him through training camp. But once the games start, that second year is guaranteed. I read an article by Mark Berman. I know he's not a favorite of many fans, but he quoted a scout in Spain who also worked with Tibbs and said that, you know, he's a scorer. He's a modern day point guard. There was I think there was a question about whether he would play over Frank. And he said that he's a better offensive player than Frank. I don't think it takes much for that. Half the defensive player, but very hard-nosed, and that Tibbs would like him. Welcome to the panel, Chris. I want to get into this last storyline because everything is good. How you doing, sis?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, look at the dedication. Someone's late to getting home. They pull over to be a part of the show. I appreciate it.
That's it. That's it. You know how New York City traffic is at 5 o'clock.
Yes, for sure. Sure. Let me just give some before I ask this last, go over this last storyline, and I'm glad you're here. Let me just give a shout out to Esco 12 Tribes, appreciate you. Pudge Nice, Chevy Fitz, Joakim, Waroa. If I didn't get that right, I still appreciate you. 19 Compton, New York City 84. Okay, appreciate you. Joshua Rivera, Nicole Lyman, Jay Boogie, appreciate you. Knicks Road Talk, appreciate you. Kevin Bergen, appreciate you. And everybody else in the chat and everybody else that's listening. This show, all content creators appreciate the fans because without you guys, there's no show, period. So appreciate you for taking the time to be with us. Just kicking it, that's all. But Chris, 10 years ago on May 3rd, at the age of 22, Derrick Rose was the youngest to get MVP. LeBron, Dwight Howard, and Kobe's were the others to get first-round votes that year. Okay. How do you think Rose's game has evolved since the injuries? Do you think he's as good a player, better, or the injuries took a lot out of him?
I think the injuries definitely redefined his game because he's not explosive as he was before. And 10 years ago, he probably would have took it inside and threw it on somebody. But now he's trying to get the layups and, the off the glass, the floaters and stuff like that. So he definitely had to change his game as he got a little older and as well as was the injuries. And I think, for the most part, it just shows a different dynamic of his game. He's showing different aspects. Because like I said before, he was just a dog. He would go in there and throw it on somebody or go in there and try to get an and one or get a poster or something like that. But now, it's more timely baskets. It's real calculated on how I can see he's reading the defense a little more, knowing when he should drive and when he should pull back and take a jumper. And that probably wasn't something a part of his game before. So I think it has definitely matured, if anything.
Right. I was watching him. I forget where it was. Try to give credit where credit is due, but I actually was on the move, so I didn't write it down. But I saw a short clip of him, and someone asked him about it, and he actually believes that he's a better player. He said that he was reckless his first few years in the league, and to your point, now much more calculating, reading the defenses, knowing what to do, knowing when to do it. The other thing I see is an improvement in his playmaking skills. That surprised me with him coming back this time and his three-point shooting. Actually, I think over the past 10 games, he's shooting like 50% from three. So I agree with you. I think he's definitely have a more refined game. And if Rose could play 30-something minutes, I wouldn't even be talking about Lowry at this point. Right? I wouldn't be talking about let's sign Lowry for 2 years and see if we can get a young point guard behind him. IQ is that young point guard behind him. I wouldn't even be talking that, right? It's just that I'm not sure he could play those minutes. And there's somebody in the chat, I don't think he's here today, who's a huge Rose fan. And will always say, we got a point guard. We got a point guard. The injuries are of the past. Why y'all keep talking about the injuries? But
he's done a lot with his body. You can even tell, like, sometimes on the sideline, he's doing these like almost yoga, Pilates type stretches, and it just seems like he's really being conscious of what he's putting in his body, because I believe he's vegan now. I think he's practicing that whole holistic thing. So he's definitely found the way to not only take care of his body now, but I think also he's slowed down a little bit and is able to read the game a little better. And I think in order to have longevity in the league, as you see a lot of players like Vince Carter played till he was, 42 years old? Because he had to change his game, and he was reckless in the beginning too. He would throw it on somebody. But he had to learn how to play defense, and he had to learn to be the person to take those short jumpers. Even I'm looking at somebody like Harrison Barnes. When he first came into the league, he was a horse for Golden State. But now, he's a defensive guy. He might get you a three-pointer now. Even Trevor Ariza was like that. They had to change their game in order to stay longer in the lead and do certain things. So I think for him to just define that edge where he just can see the game differently now, he's probably got maybe 4 or 5 more years in the league, if more.
Right. If definitely, if not more. And not just that, he's so humble. Like in Detroit, they from the beginning, their rookie, his name escapes me right. He didn't play not 1 second in the league, and they already said he was going to play. He was going to start, and Rose was going to play behind him. And Rose just accepted that. He accepted that. He just comes across, and if you read articles about him where he's spoken, very humble guy, very appreciative of where he is, and that he's been able to come back from the injuries. And I'm just happy that he had a great relationship with Tibbs. There were other options for him. He didn't know we were going to be the 4th seed, and we were going to do what we did. Maybe he believed it in his heart, but he didn't know that for sure. He knew what the Clippers, unless they had a massive breakdown, that they would be a playoff team, and these other teams that wanted him. But of his relationship with Tibbs, he decided to come back. I think he knew
Tibbs was a winner, though. I think he knew Tibbs is a winner, and he wouldn't have accepted a job if he didn't feel that he could get the most effective energy out of the players that he had. So I think he kind of knew that, coming in, Tibbs is going to expect more. So, he might not have known that they was making to the 4th place, but he definitely knew that the Knicks were not going to be the Knicks of old.
Right. And shout out to BX 76 Sports Talk. He said Cross Bronx Expressway. I think BX is from the Bronx as well. And
the X baby, the X baby.
and he said also Rose is playing with wisdom now, not just athletic instinct. And exactly. And you could see the wisdom on the court as well.
He's playing with his head now and not his body. Before you could play off talent, but now it's like you got to add a different dimension to it. Yeah, definitely.
Right. Shout out to my sister, Juan Bailey. It's quickly out tonight. I've been preparing for this show all day. So if somebody could let us know in the chat, IQ is out tonight.
What's up, Didi?
I really appreciate it. She was on me last week. Listen, I do thumbs up. The Knicks are playing well right now. And this is only the 4th show, right? I can't talk about everybody. So she was on me that I was not mentioning Derrick Rose last week. So I said, I'm going to mention Derrick Rose today in thumbs up. Rose on whatever article you watch, you read, it's all about Derrick Rose. So I went in a different direction this week. But no doubt we're going to do in my opinion, going into the playoffs, everybody says RJ is our number 2. I talked about this on the MBK.
Rose is our X factor, yes.
Show. And if you only listen to this show once a week, I appreciate you. But if you want to see me a little more and also get to know my other fellow panelists, check out NBK, Nothing But Knicks. For every game, we do a pregame show. After the game, we come back 15, 20 minutes later. After the game, we do a postgame show. And then the next day, usually we'll do what's called a morning shoot around. After we've slept on it and kind of process things a little more, the next day we'll get together. We'll talk about the game and just the Knicks overall. I'm usually there, even though it's been quite busy for me this past week, but I'm usually there. So if you appreciate my takes, I have more there. And then you'll also get a chance to meet the other panelists as well. And Simeon Russell, if you haven't met him. That's his show. I'm just a panelist on it. So there was something else I was going to say, but of course it escaped. I was going to say that everyone thinks RJ going into the playoffs is going to be our number 2. I'm thinking it might be Rose. That's going to be our number 2 behind Randle. And it could be anybody else. I think Burke is going to play well. I think RJ is going to play well as also, but I think as I was talking about on the MBK show, because of his game, he plays so within the confines of the offense. It's easy to shut a player down like that. He's not somebody that's just going to come out of the offense and be like, you know what, I'm about to get a bucket right now. We need it. What do you think about that to the next segment?
What do I think about who will be our second person?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, hold off on that because we're getting into playoff positioning right now.
Okay.
In this segment, if you haven't already, give the show a like, subscribe to the channel so that you'll know when I go live, when Josh, aka Uncle Fulio with the controversy goes live, and when Sim goes live with pregame, postgame, morning shoot around. We also do videos. I talked about us signing Luca. Let me get his name. Phil Dolcic. Make sure I get his name.
You close.
Make sure I get his name. Vildoza. There is a video on the Nothing But Knicks channel. So if you get an opportunity, go search that out and learn more about him and learn more about his game. All right. Playoff positioning. Since we last did the show, the Knicks have not lost ground. We're still in the 4th seed. We're 37 and 29 right now, 8 games above 500. Let me say that again.
Ooh.
37 and 29, 8 games above 500. The Hawks are in the 5th place. So if the playoffs started today, just like last week, we would play the Hawks. We're 1 game ahead of the Hawks. In 5th seed, we are 2 games ahead of Boston and Miami. Boston is in the 6th seed, 35 and 31. Miami is in the 7th seed, 35 and 31. They both have identical records. Boston must have the tiebreaker. And they play each other this week. And we'll get into it when we get to that. But I believe they play each other twice this week. Listen, some fans, I get it. Some fans want to play. Some fans want to play Atlanta because they don't have playoff experience, and I think I was one of those ones maybe 2 shows ago. So that was down for that. You know, I wanted to play Atlanta or Charlotte, who was in the picture at that time because they didn't have playoff experience, just like us. I have since moved off of that position. I don't want to see Atlanta. Now, listen, no matter who we play, the Knicks are going to play them tight. The Knicks are going to play them tough. And the Knicks are going to have an opportunity to win that series. So I'm not afraid of them. But Atlanta, to me, just seems like they have so many players who can score. And like I said last week.
At any time,
At any time, puts a lot of pressure on your defense to be on point, not to miss a rotation. Then they got foul line getting to Trey. In addition,
and they got a good coach now.
They have a good coach. Trey is crafty, so he's always at the foul line, right? I'm just not looking forward to a matchup with Atlanta. If we get it, we get it, but I'm not looking forward to it. And they got Capella leading the league in offensive rebounds, and we're not great. At least the last game, we weren't keeping him off the boards. Your thoughts on I have another question about the playoffs, but your thoughts on Atlanta, has it changed since we talked about it the last time?
No, I think the Knicks are ready for anybody at this point. I don't think that there is a such thing as being scared or anything like that. I just think my issue, and we're probably going to talk about it later, is probably the Knicks just showing up, starting the game off right. Because sometimes we fail to really start off on a good foot and we always catching up. So I just don't want to get into a situation where we start the playoffs that way. I hope we got that out the way and, we're going to start playing differently. But that's the only thing with, Atlanta. We're going to have some challenges, of course. But I feel if we start right and we hit our shots and we do the things we're supposed to do, I think it's going to be a good series.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, it will be a good series, but yeah, it will be. That's all I'm saying about Atlanta. I for one don't want to see them, but no matter what, I think the prime to play well. It's not where they would win in 4, 5, or even 6. The second question I have is, no matter who we playoffs, no, it's about adjustments. You're seeing the same team for at least 4 games, maybe more if the series goes longer. Randall's usage rate is high. I don't know where he ranks in terms of other players in the league, but I would have to think that he's up there in terms of his usage rate. So much of what we do goes through him. In the playoffs, the coaching staff is going to make a decision. Are we going to load up on Randall, try to take him out, and see if the rest of the team can beat us, right? Or are we going to allow Randall to do what he does and shut down everybody else? My question is, if they choose to load up on Randall and take him out of the game some, I mean, he's still gonna score. Good players do, special players do, and in my opinion, he's good. He'll score. But do you think if they do that, do we have enough in the rest of the players to win a series if they decide they're going to load up on Randall and take him out of the game?
If we play how we've been playing and everybody hit the open shots, I have a feeling we do have enough. But it's really going to depend on those guys to make sure they hit their shots, like Burks and Bullock and RJ and, the people coming off the bench like Rose. Like, we just really need to tone in and shoot our shots, not take things that we don't practice. Because like I said before, we take what we practice. So if we take the shots that we practice, we have a good chance of them going in, And I'm just excited. I want to see how we respond, because this is something that's very new to us. We haven't been in the playoffs so long, so I just want to make sure that, we get in there and we don't waste this spot or this opportunity, and we show up.
Yeah, I think that's a tough question. It's going to be interesting to see what the opposing team does. I think if they decide to load up on Randall, I don't think it's going to be one guy. I mean, I think for how our team has operated, any given game it'll probably be somebody different, right? It could be Quick one game, it could be Rose another game, it could be Burke another game. I don't think it'll be, well, if they load up on Randall, it's going to be RJ, right? I think that may change.
Yeah,
I do see us consistent. I see Rose being consistent in this playoffs. In my opinion, Rose is our number 2. Heading into the playoffs, as I mentioned earlier in the show. It's not that I don't think RJ is tough enough. He is. It's not that I don't think that he's confident enough. He is. I just think that because of the way he plays, as I said before, it's just easy to take him out of the game. It's just easy to.
It is, yeah.
And if you think about Miami, go back to those 2 games. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly what they did. But when you look at the box score, it's like he was just non-existent. So I think Rose will probably be our number 2. I'm not even that concerned about Quick. Like, I think they could take RJ out of the game the way he plays more than they could take Quickly. Because Quickly, first of all, his range. He's crafty. His range has extended since the season start. And Quick don't take a shot. Quick don't come out of the offense and take a shot.
He's not scared of no shots now.
And that's how he started the season, just dribbling around, taking shots. So he's not going to have any problems coming out of the confines of the offense to take a shot if we need it. So I don't think that's going to be a problem for him. But I do think for RJ, it may be. Any other questions? Let me just see.
At the end of the day, we have at least 4 or 5 guys that can give us 20 if Randall is jammed up. Burks can show he can consistently score 20 points. Bullock can show that he can come close to it. So we have a couple people. Quick scored 30, 20, 31 a couple times. Rose is so we have enough pieces to actually kind of pick up some of that slack. So it's just, like I said, they have to be consistent and knock the shots down.
Right. Shout out to Karen Fun, Carrie Online, Julian Blum. Esco 12 Tribe said, I think so if Burks steps up. A-Train must be from Brooklyn or Queens. Can't wait to see playoff roles, definitely. And BX Jetty 76 Sports Talk. I think Quickly will have a monster playoff. I don't think Quickly will be intimidated at all.
Burke should have playoff experience. Doesn't he? Didn't he go to playoffs for Utah?
He may have. I think he also was on that Golden State team. I don't know how much run.
Yeah, so he should have some experience, though.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Burks either. But this is a perfect segue to thumbs up, thumbs down, talking about who would step up, who would step up in Randle's if they, as you said, jammed him up. Thumbs up, thumbs down. And a thumbs up for me this week is the bench, right? The Knicks bench. Now, I wanted to compare. If you see the chart here, I'll get right to it. I wanted to compare the Knicks bench with and without Rose, with and without Berg, the bench before and after the win streak. I was not able to find those stats. So if anybody knows a site that breaks down a bench like that, please let me know. But this is what the Knicks bench has been doing all season. 36.9 points a game for the season. 12th in the league. April, not that much different. 39.9 points, 3 more points. Versus playoff teams, 37.4 points, 6 in the league. And wins, 38.1 points, which is a little more than the season average. Losses, 35.5 points, 8, a little less than their season average. At home, 37.9 points. For third, away, 35.9 points, which is just 1 point less than the season average. Against the East, 35 points, but against the West, 39.9 points against the West. So it's pretty consistent. You know, maybe a point, 2, 3, I think, at the most difference across all of these categories. But what stood out for me is that they've been able to maintain this consistency despite the fact that Rose has been out a number of games with COVID and I think maybe some injuries. Burke has been out due to COVID protocol, but we've still been fairly consistent as far as the bench scoring. And what I attribute it to is what this team is about: next man up. You know, in terms of the entire team, Mitch went down, somebody, stepped up. And I think the same thing for the bench. You know, if Rose is not here, somebody else in the bench stepped up. Burke is not here, somebody else in the bench stepped up. What do you think when you look at the consistency of the bench scoring, given a point here or there, despite the fact that some key players of the bench have missed significant time?
Man, I'm loving our bench because it seems like we're not really losing too much. Like in the beginning, I was looking for them to put the starters back in because we weren't scoring. We didn't have a clearly defined person on that second unit that was really playing within because Quigley was dribbling around. Then you had, my boy Obi shooting shots, or he was scared fumbling the ball. So we really didn't. So it just seems like they've all stepped into their own now and they're able to produce. So, I see that sometimes when they take Randle out and things, he's able to get some rest now because, we're not losing too much when that second unit is in. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I will say, even if the bench scoring has remained relatively stable throughout the season, the bench looks better. They're performing better because I do remember early in the season saying, we need somebody on that second unit to just settle this team down.
For real.
I mean, what is going on here?
It was a mess, Sam. It was a mess.
Right. And I think the beginning of that was Rose coming. I think when Rose came, he settled that team down. So even if, what we don't see there is if there's been any change in field goal percentage, or what have you. But I just think Rose coming to the Knicks when he did just really settled that second team down. People were saying they didn't want Rose, whole other story, because of, he may take away from Quickly minutes. I think that was fans then, and hopefully the fans no longer feel that, but there was a sentiment amongst fans that you just play the young people. Don't bring in anybody that's going to take minutes from them, even if they're going to help us win, because we need them to grow so we can win 2 and 3 years down the line. It's a whole other story. But anyway, that wasn't the case. Quickly's minutes actually, I think, went up a little bit from 9 to 19 to 19.8 to get where I read that. And he's actually looked better. He's actually looked better. Anything else you want to add about the bench before I get to thumbs down?
I think there was
anything else that you saw as far as thumbs up this week?
Yeah, for this streak or just in general?
Just in general, this week. Anything you saw that you want to point to? I picked the bench, but you may have seen something else.
Yeah, the bench has definitely been improving. I mean, I'm happy that Burks is back. He gives us another scoring option, and he also gives us another person to handle the ball. So it's definitely a thumbs up for the bench for me as well.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, my thumbs down. I didn't have one last week. I have one this week. And the thumbs down is any Knicks fan who is not on board with the Knicks being a good team, right? If you're not sold on the Knicks at this late date in the season, after what they've done, thumbs down, Knicks fan. And I get it. You still a Knicks fan. You still Knicks family. But we all got family.
You gotta believe, though. You gotta believe.
Let me just finish this. Oh, and I do have to read some super chats. So I hope I don't want to forget that. Appreciate you all. Listen, especially off the game to Denver, like people just waiting for the shoe to drop. So we got blown out by Denver, a very good team, in the Western Conference. People started creeping out. Now, I'm not going to say I heard it a lot, but I heard some people questioning the Knicks. Here we go again. Well, they overachieving anyway. This is to be expected. Blah, 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 blah. Listen, good teams get blown out. It happens.
They do.
Good teams go on bad stretches where they go on losing streaks. If you're a really good team, hopefully it's no more than 2, but it does happen, right? Good teams are still looking to upgrade their roster, right? Just like the Knicks are going to upgrade their roster in the offseason, Philly is looking to upgrade their roster as well. They're looking at Lowry, right? So this is what good teams do. They try to get better. Good teams are still have concerns going into the playoffs, right? I'm sure the Clippers are concerned about whether or not they have the chemistry to do well in the playoffs, given the injuries that they've had throughout the season, right? So good teams still have concerns, right? But bad teams don't go on 9-game winning streaks, right? Bad teams are not in the 4th place in the playoff seed. Bad teams are not 8 games over 500, right? So all of the Knicks who are still saying, are trepid, the Knicks are playing well. The Knicks are doing well, but they're not really a good team. They're just playing over their heads. They're just overachieving. That's not the case. Okay? So let's stop with that line of thinking. The Knicks are not just a good team. The Knicks are a very good team. So thumbs down to any Knicks fan who at this point in the season still think the Knicks are overachieving and they're not really a good team. As I gave you the invitation last week, you could come on over to this side on solid ground, okay? On solid ground, and stop waiting for the floor to drop out. Right. So comment on that if you want to, but the question I have, though, is say the Knicks lose, I think they got 4 more, 3 more on this trip, and then another game until we meet again. So 4 games before the next show. If the Knicks drop 2 of those, do you think that's a reason to be concerned? And does that change your opinion of the Knicks this season?
I really don't think that it's a reason to be concerned, because you got to think about the teams that we're playing. We're playing some very talented teams within the next couple. So, I would like to see them win all 4 of them. But there's a possibility that they might go 3-1, 2-2. It's a possibility. You know what I'm saying? Just like you said, good teams, they don't always win. So I'm not gonna lose my love for the Knicks because they lost a game or two. You know what I'm saying? So like,
of course not.
I
Yeah.
mean,
But would you think that they're not a good team, or that they're overachieving if they lost, I don't know, 2 out of the next 3 or what?
I cannot say that they're overachieving, and I cannot say they're not a good team because we play quality teams and we beat them. You know what I'm saying? We play quality minutes and quarters. So I can't really say that this is a fluke or anything like that, or it's COVID or anything people use excuses for. So it's a shortened season. If they had to play the full season, like I just feel like we have a really good team. We have something special right now, and I think Knicks fans should enjoy it because so many years we had bad teams. We have bad teams, so why not embrace what we have now, especially if they're winning?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. No,
we even have other teams players talking about us.
Right. Exactly. All right. That's my pet peeve, Knicks fans. All right. So if you want to fence about how good this team is, again, cross over. We are a good team, and we just gonna build off of this. I think there's a lot to be said for coming together as a team, and it's gonna be interesting to see if we add players to this core, if we subtract players to this core from this core. Does it impact our chemistry? How much it does, and will that team be able to form a new chemistry? I believe it will, because I think the driving force of it all is Tibbs.
It is.
And I think that for the first time in a long time, I think that just like Miami, there's a Knick type of player. So I don't think the Knicks are going to be looking to just bring in any player. I don't think, even if they're talented, I think the Knicks are going to be looking at fit. How do they think they're going to gel with the players on this roster? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I believe so too. I believe that, Tibbs is already setting down the foundation of how he wants this team to look in the future and what he's expecting out of them. Who comes, and I don't think that anybody that comes is not going to buy into the system, because if they come, they're going to come because of the fact that one is Tibbs and the system that he's playing and the guys that he have, the locker room, those fit guys. So, I mean, I'm just looking at everything being a positive, and I'm excited about next year. I'm excited about this year, but I'm excited to see what's going to happen when Tibbs has the opportunity to add more pieces and more of his guys, because I think he's going to go out and get some people that, he feels is going to push us over the edge to get to where we want to be.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, we're going to have after the season, and hopefully the Knicks go on, as BX Teddy would say, a long playoff run. We'll have opportunity to talk about who those Tibbs like players will be. I do think, though, and I could be wrong, if it's a first round exit, I think they may shake it up a little more.
Yeah, I think so too.
Make it to the semifinals, and if there's injuries, whatever, we make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think how much they shake it up has a lot to do with where we go in the playoffs. What do you think?
Yes, I think so as well. I think if we lose in the first round, there's going to be a lot of people that, probably the fans will be happy that's gone. I think Peyton might be gone, as much as everybody said that's his guy. But I think he really, by him signing that other point guard, it just shows to me that he's not happy with the current situation. So I feel like he's going to be gone. I think Knox, because you're going to have to make the decision on Knox. You're going to have to make the decision on what you're going to do with the center, too. Like, if you're going to sign Mitch, or you're going to let Mitch go and try to get somebody else. Like, there's a lot of decisions that have to be made. And I think the first round is probably going to shock a lot of people what they decide to do to get the players here that Tibbs wants.
Right. I agree. All right. We're moving on to Rookie Watch. No stats this week. Pretty short, actually. I want to start with IQ. I noticed something in his game, and maybe it was there before, but I've been watching the games pretty close. I'm pretty sure I would have noticed it. He's driving to the basket now with a shot that's high off the glass, a layup, basically, right? So usually he would hit the three or he would get into the lane and take a mid range. I'm noticing that he's expanding his game more. I saw him a few times drive all the way in, high off the glass for two, and he's extending his range. I've noticed that a little, about a few weeks now. He's extending his range. Now, shout out to the coaching staff where you can actually see in-season development. That's pretty significant, right? I mean, a lot of times you add significant things to your game in the offseason, right? So this just goes to show that not only is the coaching staff probably pointing things out, but in order to put it in a game, that means that you've been putting in some time practicing it.
Yes,
right?
yes.
They're not gonna just tell you something and you're gonna do it. That means you've been putting in the time to practice it. So he's been practicing that. And I think that makes him much more dynamic on the offensive end. Because now, because of his extended range, you really have to play him even before he gets to the 3-point line, right? And if he can get by you, which he has been doing, get into the lane, he has the floater. He could take it, if you're laying back, he could take it even further and lay it high off the glass over the big guys with some accuracy. I think that bodes well for IQ. He is developing nicely, and his defense is getting better. I'm not going to say he's all world, but he's becoming a better on-ball defender. I'll say that. Did you notice that? And anything else you want to say about IQ?
Yes, I think he has done a lot of work on his game, and I think he's come away from the floater a little bit. So I think they were trying to find something else for him to, when he gets in the paint, what to do besides the floater, because it wasn't falling for a while. And I think a lot of people were expecting the floater, so they tended to play it. So I just think that just added a different dynamic. Okay, so the floater's not working. Let's try to find something else that can get you to either to the line or get you a basket. So, I appreciate that new shot, though.
Yeah, I like it. I definitely like it. I want to wait until the end of the second, but I can't trust my memories. Let me get we have some super chats here. I'm going to keep it real with y'all. All right. JD Sports Talk. Appreciate you, JD. New York City traffic real. Chris hasn't moved on the show. LOL.
Listen, man. Traffic is serious, and it's a Friday.
Kyle Williams, thank you for the super chat. Great show, ladies. Yo, Steph, bring Chris on with you tonight. She can replace Cornerstone. LOL.
I can't replace nobody. I'm new to this. I'm new. Give me some time.
All right. And Brian Williford, I hope I got that right. I'm really hoping in the offseason we pull off a 3-way trade and acquire Colin Sexton and Jeremy Grant. They'd fit perfectly and give the team Bulls vibe. Now, I'm not a big Sexton fan, though if he came here, I wouldn't mind it, but I am a huge, and I mean huge, Jeremy Grant fan. I think he would fit great. I want a taller wing opposite RJ, and this guy, I want to say 6'9" at the very least, and can shoot the three and he can defend.
Yes.
I'm not. So if we could get Jeremy Grant, I would be all on that. Nothing but Nick Sim. I'm not really feeling Colin Sexton. I'm with you, Sim. I'm with you. I'm not really feeling Sexton. But when you think about Jeremy Grant, I think if we could get him,
yeah,
I don't
Grant
think
boys
Detroit.
Good though.
Yeah, I don't think Detroit is looking to get rid of Jeremy.
Nah, they're not gonna get rid of him.
And I think he's making
That's their D.
Yeah, but you know what? They're going nowhere fast, and they may want to go younger. Even though he's pretty young, I don't know if he fits their timeline. And I think he's making like 20 mil. I would pay him 20. I like this. I like this.
Yeah.
I like this guy. And then somebody said, if they do that, can they then resign Noel, Burks, Bullock, D. Rose? I get Jeremy Grant over here, and we'll figure the rest of it out later.
Exactly.
Obi, listen, I don't.
My boy.
All right, so I'll let you lead the segment. I don't have much to say about.
No, you go ahead. Talk about my boy.
I mean, it's pretty much the same. That he looks more comfortable in the offense. Defensively, he looks a little better. His effort is there. I forget what game it was. He chased the opponent was on a fast break. He chased them all the way down the court, hit the ball out of his hand. He was called for a foul, but just the all-out effort to not give up.
The effort,
yeah, it was appreciative. He got some new kicks that dropped.
I'm about to get them too.
Really? Okay. They do. Yeah, they do look good. If they come out with a black and white pair, I'll think about it. But yeah, I mean, listen, Obi is playing better. If you notice, Randle is getting more rest. Now, I don't think it's just because of Obi. I think it's just the bench period that he's able to go out in the third quarter, sometime in the end of the third quarter, and come in, I don't know, middle. He's getting much more rest. So shout out to Obi. I think that he's going to make the biggest strides, and probably because he has the longest way to go. I mean, that's part of it. But I think he's going to make big strides in the offseason. Anything else about the Rooks before I get into the upcoming games?
Well, anytime I got an opportunity to talk about my boy, I'm going to talk about my boy. I just feel like he has so much to prove to not only himself, but some of the Knicks fans. Because, they're saying he was picked so high, but he's not showing anything. He's not showing us anything new. I just think that, honestly, he had to learn the NBA game, because if you watch his college game, he was overpowering those, college guys. And now you playing with grown men, you're not going to do the same thing. So I just feel like hopefully in this offseason, he get with a big man, I don't know who, somebody, and just really work on his game. And I feel like, it's only going to be a plus because, Tibbs and his coaching staff are probably going to have some things that they want him to develop on. And also, I think the fact that he has Rose, he has Taj, he has Mitch, he has Noel. He has these guys that could kind of help him with his defense and help him with some offensive things and some things to look at. So, it's an upside for him. But I really think that he's probably going to make the biggest impact next year because, like I said, he got so much to prove. Like, he looks like that humble guy. Like, yeah, y'all count me out, but, I'm going to work.
Well, I have no doubt about that he's a worker. And I'm interested in seeing his jump. I think it's going to be a big one. I mean, we've talked about this before. I don't have a problem with his age. It's just that, at that age, I just expected him to be a little further along and not have the same developmental trajectory as a 19-year-old. But, if he makes a huge jump between this year and next year, it's not going to matter. He'll be where the Knicks thought he was. Shout out again to the chat. Hewlett, Samuel, Alton Lee, Tawan Sellers, Jerry Fitz, Prince, but wow. He was, when I first got on the NBK, he was one of the fellow panelists. I haven't seen him in a long time. Miss you. Joseph Chavez, thank you for your support as well. Travis T, Juan Bailey again, Richie Martinez, all of you in the chat, those listening while you're driving. Hopefully you're not stuck in traffic. Those cleaning out your cars. Hopefully you've got good weather like I do here in Brooklyn. And you're enjoying yourself. Alton Lee said, we need a veteran point guard to steady the ship in rough times. He doesn't have to be a 30-point per game guy.
Right on.
Yeah, I agree with that. Even though lately I'm wondering, is Rose already that, even though he's not starting, and can we still get a young point guard not real young, but a relatively younger point guard because Rose would be the veteran. Something I've been mulling over. Um, okay, we are coming down the stretch. The last segment, we're talking about our upcoming week's games. We're going to have 4 games between now and the next show. Tonight we play Phoenix. If you didn't catch the pregame show on this channel, Nothing But Knicks, check it out. And just as a reminder, we'll do a post-game show after the game tonight, and there may be a shoot-around. Usually there is the next morning where we'll talk about the game again and any other pertinent Knick issues. So we play Phoenix tonight. They're second in the West with a record of 47-19. The last 10, they're 7-3. They lost to Atlanta. I believe that was their last game. And they beat us April 26th, maybe a week ago, if that, 118 to, I think that's 110. The Knicks were in the game down the stretch. They got some timely shooting from Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, CP3, put the lights out, basically. And Booker kept them, in the game throughout. So we played them tonight. Sunday, we play the Clippers. They're 45, and I think that game is on ABC, if I'm not mistaken. They're 45-22, third in the West. I wonder if I think that they beat the Lakers last night, 6-4 over their last 10, 2 straight wins, and they beat us on January 31st, 129-115. I want to say the game was closer than that, and then at some point they pulled away. Chris, do you want me to go through all 4 of them and then have you comment, or do you want to comment as we go along?
Yeah, go through all 4.
Okay.
Yeah,
all righty. What I will say about the Clippers is Rondo is on that team now. He wasn't there when we played them the first time. And he may not be a great shooter, but he's a leader. And he may not be the defender he once was, right? But he's a leader for them. He's tough. He knows how to get people in their spots. He's a veteran, so they respect him, right? So if he tells Paul George, if he doesn't give the ball to Paul George or Kawhi, they're not coming in Rondo's face about why they didn't get the ball. He is, and this is why, the issue with Peyton is not that he can't shoot. Rondo is not a good shooter. There's other point guards around the NBA that are not good shooters, but they bring so much other intangibles and other skills to the game that you could kind of get by. They bring more than they're giving up. So to speak.
That's true.
Then on Monday, so this is a back-to-back, we play the Lakers. Now, the Lakers are 37-29, 6th in the West, and they're at risk of dropping into that play-in game, right?
Yeah.
They're 3-7 over their last 10, and we beat them April 12th. 111-90. 111 to 96. Now LeBron is back from the ankle injury, but he's in and out of the lineup. He didn't play against the Clippers. I think they said he's going to sit out 1, maybe 2 more games. But I would put my money on it.
He's playing against us.
When it's time to play the Knicks, LeBron will be there. And then the last game before we comment on this stretch is the San Antonio Spurs, who we play next week, Thursday. They're 31-34. They're in the 10th seed in the West. And they're pretty, they're 3.5 games behind Memphis for the 9th and 1.5 games ahead of New Orleans, who is in the 11th seed. So I think they're pretty wedged in there in the 10th seed. Over their last 10, they 5-5, but they've lost their last 5 games, if I got that correct. So Phoenix, Clippers, the Lakers, San Antonio Spurs, before the next show, we are 1 game behind Atlanta. How do you think the Knicks are going to do in that 4-game stretch?
I'm thinking 2-2, but I want 3-1.
Okay.
I want 3-1. I think we need a revenge game against Phoenix tonight. I think we hang with the Lakers even though LeBron is back. I think that's gonna be a grind out game. San Antonio. The only one that I'm really kind of like skeptical about is the Clippers because like you said, Rondo is that X factor. So he doesn't shoot well and he probably doesn't defend well, but he really knows how to orchestrate their offense, and he has a way of creating things defensively. Little things that we don't really pay attention to and things of that nature. He gets that. Maybe just standing in the passing line, disrupting the pass, disrupting the shot. Like he gets those little intricate things that really don't go on the stat sheet. So
Right.
I'm worried about the Clippers. But if like I said, the Lakers, I want to get that one, but you don't really know. LeBron might show out. So, those are the two games that I'm really like kind of like, eh. But, if we could get that Lakers game, I think we could go 3-1. But I'm going to say 2-2.
Okay.
I'm going to say
All
2.
right. I mean, and Rondo has 2 rings. He was on that Laker team that won.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Right.
saying.
And
That's
then
what
he
I'm
has
saying.
Boston. And don't forget Pat Beverly, who's another one who's not a great offensive
Yeah,
player.
that's right.
But
That's right.
he's a
Not an
dog
offensive player. But he
on
will get
defense.
in your face like a little ant and just, disrupt some stuff.
Right, right. I have the Knicks 3-1. I think we beat Phoenix. I think we beat the Lakers. I think we beat the Spurs. I think the Clips. I think that's going to be a tough game for us. Even with LeBron back, obviously it becomes harder. AD doesn't seem to be, his,
100%. Like
yeah,
something's
right,
going on, right?
right, back to himself. Um, I say 3-1, and we're going to need it because Atlanta's 1 game back. Both Boston and Miami are 2 games back, and this is their upcoming season. So by the time Knicks Real Talk divide 3-1, let's get it, New York City Gritty Committee, he calls them. Atlanta plays Washington twice and Orlando. By the time we meet again. Now, when I first saw that, I said, wow, Atlanta got an easy schedule. However, Washington has been on a tear, right? I think they won their last 10. They were 7-3. They came out of nowhere to really take a stranglehold on, I want to say either the 9th or the 10th seed. So those are not going to be easy games for Atlanta. Washington is playing well. Bill is always playing well. Westbrook, the other players they have on this team, I believe Bertans is back. I'm not sure if he's injured again, but I know the last time I saw them, maybe a week or so ago, he was there. So I don't think that's going to be, those 2 games are going to be easy for Atlanta. Boston, who are 2 games behind the Knicks again, they play Chicago tonight. They play Miami twice, and they play Cleveland, right? So if they play Miami twice, that means Miami plays Boston twice. Those 2 are tied 35-31. I believe it is. And one is in 6th place, the other's in 7th, but they got the same record. Because of the tiebreaker, Boston has the 6th seed. So that may very well decide, or if it doesn't decide, it's significant in terms of the standings for them. And then it also helps us. We play Boston the last game of the season, and I'm so hoping that it's not an important game by that time. That the Knicks have kind of solidified their standing as the 4th seed in home court advantage. After we play San Antonio Spurs, we have 2 more games, and that's Charlotte, who's in the 8th spot right now. I don't think Hayward is back yet, and Boston. Those are the 2 games. We'll talk about it more the next show. But my hope is that by the time we meet Boston, the Knicks have the 4th seed locked down. Any last thoughts before we leave on anything we talked about today? Anything we didn't talk about? The upcoming anything?
I'm just ready to go. I want to get this loss behind us and move forward. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like the more time we got to think about it, the more, people start to get in their heads. So I just hope we show up today. I mean, we got to start early. We can't play catch up. That's one of the things I want. Just start early.
Right. Yeah. I mean, as I said on the pregame show earlier, the Knicks will not be any sharper than they will be tonight. Coming off a loss like that, if you're not sharp to start the game, I'm gonna be tight. Not that it's gonna matter. Not that it's gonna matter to them. But Tibbs is gonna be tight too if they don't come out sharp today. Listen, if the Knicks do lose, it's going to be a tight game, but it's important for me that I see the Knicks get back to Knick basketball, because what I saw against Denver, I don't know what that was. So it's important that tonight we get back into playing the game the way the way we play it. And just overall, I'm happy for the Knicks that they have secured a winning season for the first time since, I think, 2012, 2013. I'm happy for the organization. I'm happy for the Knicks fans. And let's get it. Let's get it. I'm looking forward to seeing Randle in the playoffs, RJ in the playoffs, Quick in the playoffs. I'm just looking forward to seeing how the Knicks perform in the playoffs. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, just want to make sure. Yep. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the weather. Stay safe. Spread love, as we say at NBK. See you next time.
Peace.